Hi, my little babies. Welcome back to another episode of What the Smut Bug Reviews. Thank you for joining me. As always, I'm your host, Candace. Fuck around and find out, Candace. In today's video, we're doing a Q&A. Now, if you have watched my previous video, you will know that at the end of December last year, I published a book. I know. Now it was difficult. It was difficult, not gonna lie, but we did it. We made it. Started from the bottom, now we're here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm still like, I'm like a catfish. You know, catfish like live on the bottom of the lake, and they like eat like the dregs. That's me. I'm the catfish. I am not a sought after fish. Anyway, in today's video, we're doing a Q&A because I asked people on my Bookstagram account, which you can find in the description below, to ask me questions. It could be about my book. It could be about random things. It could be about whatever. No holds barred questions, okay? In addition to those questions, or maybe I should say on the back of some of those questions, came some, I don't want to say tea, because it's so old now that it's not, it will be tea. Okay, let me just, I'm gonna spill some tea. It's whatever, okay? Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break this down into two segments. Not two segments like two videos, but I'm going to answer the questions that are book related first, and then I will do the tea session at the end, because I know that's what you guys are all here for. You hear my child coughing? She's also been sick. So in case you did not watch my previous video, this is my book. It's called The Thief and the Painter. It is the first book in the Thick as Thieves series, and you can see my name right here. And she's a chunky girl. The book, I think in the previous video, I also forgot to put like how many pages it is. The print edition, I think, is like 470 something pages. But again, a lot of that is due to the formatting, because the formatting of the interior is chef's kiss. Okay, so the very first question I got asked is the question that's going to open the door to my tea session. So I'm going to sit that one to the side, and I'm going to go through the rest. So the second question that I got was, why are you so cute? Stop. Okay. That doesn't even, I'm not even going to respond to that, because as if. Okay. If The Thief and the Painter became a movie, who would you cast as Merrick? So, have you guys ever seen the show White Collar? A lot of the Merrick in my head looked like Neil Caffrey. He was like, he's very smooth. He's very debonair. He's very, right? Now obviously Neil Caffrey is his name in White Collar. What is his name in real life? What is his name? I don't remember. You see? You see what happens when you write a book? I'm kidding. I was like this before I wrote a book. Anyway, I can't. It'll come to me eventually at the most inopportune moment, and I'll just like word vomit out the real name of the actor. But that's who I pictured in my head for a lot of the time that I was writing. So really, he's the only actor that I can think of. Even though I think he's gay in real life. Obviously, he played a straight guy in White Collar. You know he could do it. So there you go. So yeah, I guess it would be him. I can't think of anybody else that I could see in that role. No, I can't think of anybody else. Actor-wise, no. Now, this question got asked several times in like just different wording. How many books are you planning to write in the Thick as Thieves series? I have currently 3 completely plotted books. I have the makings of a 4th one. So I will say for right now that I will do my best. I will write until nobody wants to read me anymore. Or until I die. Like until I break down and I can't anymore for some health reason or another. Which, let's be honest, how many times I'm gonna say let's be honest in this video. Okay. But that is the answer to that question. So obviously this is the first book. I have books 2 and 3 already plotted, and I have the makings of a book 4. So that's the answer. Do you picture any actor or model as any of your characters? If you do, who? So again, actor-wise, Neil Caffrey from White Collar was my guy. I cannot for the life of me remember his name now, but like the actor's name. But if you've seen White Collar, you'll know who I'm talking about. Now, when he was thieving, that's who I pictured. But for character inspo, I did find a male model on Pinterest who looked like what I would want my real life Merrick to look like. Like in the black and white version, he ticked all the boxes. His hair is like blonder, whereas Merrick's is dark. But aside from that, yeah. I will put his picture here. If I can find his name, I'll put it up there as well. As far as Amelia goes, she, in the very, very beginning, I did not have like an image to work off of. Again, after I had already decided I want her to have, you know, curly strawberry blonde hair that leans more on the red side. I wanted her to have, you know, like I wanted her to wear a lot of messy buns. I wanted her to wear, she's a painter, right? She's pale. She's got some freckles. She's this and that. When I went hunting for character inspo, I did find an Instagram model who became my Amelia. And I will put her here. You can find her under that handle. And she's literally stunning. Like everything. She's stunning. Okay. She's the opposite of me. She's stunning. So that was my Amelia during the writing process. From the time that I located that very first picture of what I thought Amelia would look like, she was my Amelia. Okay. How did you like the writing process? Was it challenging, fun, scary? I enjoyed it. It was challenging, obviously, because of like my real life issues that I have with chronic pain, anxiety, that kind of thing. But it was definitely fun. And it was a little bit scary, I'll be honest. I think it would have been more scary for me if I had a lot riding on the book. If I was someone who wanted to be a full-time author and wanted their book to blow up and or go viral and sell 1 million copies or become traditionally published or whatever, I take my hat off to the authors in the indie community who want to do that, because that is hard. Meeting deadlines, churning out like having to do pay like word counts every day, paying PR companies, paying for covers, paying for graphic. It's a lot. And so I take my hat off to those authors. I also take my hat off to the authors like me who are doing it on the side while working a full-time job somewhere else, which is what I do. I have a regular 9-to-5 job. I did this in addition to that. I also have an Etsy bakery. I'm married. I have a child, like a young child. My life is chaotic, to say the least. So it would have been scarier if I had said, you know what, I'm quitting my job. And I want this to be my job. If I had done that, then I think I would have been terrified. But because I didn't tie myself down to deadlines, I didn't put unnecessary pressure on myself in the beginning of the process, it was not as scary as it could have been, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Okay. But it was definitely a fun process, and I definitely really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely really proud of the end product. You know what I mean? Now when it comes to like publication, when it came time to publish the book or for the book to go live, I was quite anxious. I'm not gonna lie. But again, not as anxious as I would have been if I was like a full-time author out here hustling, trying to make this my career. Next question says, how do you deal with bad reviews? And then in parentheses, they put, if you had any. I have. So, honestly, wait, hold on, because we need to get our count up. If I'm being honest, I find them funny. I actually find them really funny. Yes, I do read reviews. Yes, I do keep track of, because I'm still a very new author. I have one publicated, is that a word? Published work, right? And so it's very easy for me to literally stalk my Amazon reviews because I've gotten like 50. It's very easy for me to stalk my Goodreads reviews because I don't have much more than that on Goodreads. So it's very easy to do still. If I had several books out and, you know, let's say hypothetically, they did well, then I might not check reviews as much as I do now, but I do. And I do read reviews. And for the most part, my reviews have been positive, and I'm really grateful for that. There have been a few where, you know, they'll just leave a one-star rating but write nothing, and I just consider those people trolls. Because if you leave me a negative review, that's fine. If you actually read the book and there was something about it you didn't like and you want to give me less than 5 stars, that's your prerogative. You are entitled to your opinion. If you give me a 1-star rating and then you don't actually write a review, it does not help me at all. Like, I don't mean it doesn't help me as in, like, I want you to give me a higher review because I need help boosting my rating. No. I mean, it doesn't help me grow as an author. It doesn't help me change things for future books. So if you're going to contribute something, review-wise, contribute something. You know what I mean? Don't just put a rating and then just go, oh, that's enough. Or, like I said, be a troll and just put a 1-star and then just fuck off into space. Rude. So, I have had a few bad reviews, but honestly, for the most part, I find them funny. Like, there was one that was they rated me like 3 stars. And it said, oh no, they didn't rate me at all. I lied. There was one where they DNF'd the book. And it said like DNF, they wrote out, which thank you for that. And they didn't give me a star rating. Like, they didn't rate it at all. They just wrote out in the review portion, DNF'd at 7% because not in the mood for toxic family stories. The writing was good though. When I read that, I laughed so hard. Because I was like, I can't find fault with that. You told me why you DNF my book. It's a valid reason. I can't be mad. So if you're gonna do something like that, do that. But aside from that, like, and obviously irritation, like general irritation at trolls who just do the 1-star thing and say nothing. My bad reviews, I laugh at them. I think they're funny. What's next for you? Upcoming writing projects? How many stories are in your head waiting their turn? Like I said before, right now my main focus is on this series because I am not the type of person that can bounce around from one plot to another. So while I'm working on the book, I'm not working on any other books. There are ideas, sure. And if I have an idea, I jot it down. I have a notebook that I carry with me everywhere. I also have my phone. But for the most part, this series is my life right now. In the future, I would love to do a Mafia series because I love Mafia. I would love to do Age Gap because I love Age Gap. Again, like as I said in like my previous video, I am approaching writing books from a reader perspective before I'm approaching it from a writer's perspective or an author's perspective. I think to myself, what are my favorite things as a reader? And then that's what I'm writing. I'm not writing what's popular, what's selling right now, I'm not thinking about what could go viral. I'm not doing any of those things. I'm writing what I like, period. So that's it. But like I would definitely love to do a Mafia series because it's one of my favorite tropes. I would love to do an Age Gap either a standalone or something because I love Age Gap romance, not Daddy Kink, because you know I don't like Daddy Kink, but I would love to do like a proper Age Gap. And I may very well incorporate an Age Gap somewhere in this series, but it won't be the focal point of that book, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? When are we getting book 2? So, again, I have not given myself a deadline to finish book 2 or to release book 2. I am hoping to have it out by late summer, mid to late summer. So let's just say maybe July, maybe the end of July. I would like that because I would like to have the 3rd book out at the same time this year as the first one. So end of December. So maybe like on a 6-month schedule. But again, if it happens organically, great. If it doesn't, it will happen when it happens, because I don't think there are a lot of authors out there that have really strict schedules when it comes to the structure that they operate under. And some authors need that because otherwise nothing will get done, right? And then there are other authors who write it as it comes and whatever. I will never be one of those writers that says like, I have to publish by so-and-so date and I haven't even started writing this book. Never will I do that. Because I think when you do that, the writing, the plot suffers. And I grew up, as you may know, I don't know if you know, but as you may know, I'm going to be 40 this year. Okay? I grew up in my teens reading authors like Nora Roberts. She was my favorite author for a very long time. And to this day, a lot of her books are still like her standalones from literally the late 80s. I was born in 84. The late 80s, early 90s. Her standalone novels are still some of my favorite romance novels ever. And back during those times, there was not such a heavy emphasis put on the spice. Yes, there was sex, but it was not told graphically. It was not like in great detail. It was not like there was my nose is itching. There was very little to no like the language that we currently use for descriptions of sex scenes, right? There was none of that. If your book had that in there, your book was relegated to the erotica section, which was tiny. Like, that's where books went to die, the erotica section. Now, in the indie author community, that type of writing is mainstream. So, I grew up reading those kind of books. Because they didn't rely so heavily on the spice, your plot had to be good. Your character development had to be good. If it wasn't, your book was shit. Because no one was reading it explicitly for the sex scenes. We were reading it for the love story. Right? And that's what I want in my books. I want plot first, character development first, dialogue first. The spice is there. It needs to be there. And it is detailed. But it's not the focal point of the book. The focal point of the book is the story, the love story, the relationship. How does it end? Obviously, you're going to get an HEA from me. Every one of my books will have an HEA. I will never end a book on a cliffhanger. I will say that I hate it when authors say, oh, this book can be read as a standalone novel. No, don't. For my series, don't. Even when I have 2, 3, 4, however many books out, don't. You can have a favorite. That's fine. And if you want to reread it 1,000 times, I would love that. But start at the beginning. Because even though each one is a character standalone, as in features one particular couple and ends with an HEA, there are running themes in the background that flow through to connect the books. So if you start at book 3, they're going to be talking about shit that you have no idea what's going on. Because it happened in the first 2 books. Do you understand? You know what I'm saying? So, again, I would say to answer the question of when is book 2 coming, that's my loosey-goosey timeline. So the next one is anything you want to share about your writing process, tips, tricks, and advice. Just write what you love. Honestly, I think there would be, please ignore outside. You can hear there's like frogs. It's raining, so the toads are like going crazy. Just write what you love. If you have I feel like the book community would greatly benefit from more books that were written by authors who enjoyed what they were writing about versus authors who write a book because that's what's hot right now. Because I don't think that lends much to the book. Sure, if you're a good writer, you can still write a good book. But you can just tell when you read some books that the author really loved that story. And that comes through in the writing. And sometimes it doesn't. So my advice would be to just write what you love. Write the tropes you love. Write the subgenres you love. You know, if you like male, write male. If you like female, write female. If you like trans romance, write trans romance. Like, if you like mafia, write mafia. Just write what you love. Write what you would want to read as a reader. That's what I say. That's my advice. Tricks and tips. No, not really. I don't really have any, to be honest, because what works for some may not work for others. Writing is a lot like reading. It's subjective. Some people write better on a deadline or with rigid schedules. Some people write with no deadline. They write better with no deadline. Some people plot out an entire book in their head and then put it to paper in a diagram, and that works for them. Some people just start at chapter 1 and it just flows out of them. Like it's subjective for everyone. So for tips and tricks, I don't really have any other than to say, if you as a writer picture a scene in your head, write it. Even if you don't know where it's going to fit in your story, write it. That is exactly how I produced this book. I thought to myself, ooh, I would love to write a scene where this happens. I have no idea where it's going in the book. It could be in the beginning. It could be halfway. It could be towards the end. I don't know. but I wrote the scene. And then you just go in and do minor adjustments when you decide where it fits. And that's how I wrote this book. There are some writers who write linear from chapter 1 through one story, like continuous. And that works for, I think, most writers, not for me. For me, I wrote 20 random scenes and then I bridged the gaps. And I know that makes my book sound shitty, but that's the way it happened. And that's what worked for me. Because again, when you're writing something that's really sticking with you, you're going to write it well. As opposed to feeling like you have to force a story that's just plodding along. And I don't mean plotting like with a T. I mean plotting like with D. Plod. Any things about writing and publishing that surprised you after being a reader for so long? Everything. Everything. When I decided to do this book, I knew nothing about the publishing side of indie authors, like the indie book community. I knew you can publish on Amazon yourself. That's the only thing I knew. I didn't know how to set up a KDP account. I didn't know how to fill in your information. I didn't know that there were different sizes that you could choose for your books. I didn't know any of this. That there are templates out there that you can use for your covers. I didn't know any of this. All of that was a surprise. What also surprised me was the sheer number of authors in the indie community who were both so supportive and catty. Just like with readers, just like with anything else, you have people who hype up other authors and they want them to succeed. And then you have those people who have that only I can eat mentality. And if you're doing better than them in anything regarding your book, if your reel got more views, if your cover looks better, if you're whatever, they feel like it's a competition. And that surprised me because it should be this way. And there were a lot of them that were this way. And if you're that kind of author, I don't want anything to do with you, if I'm being honest. Sorry. What was your experience? What has your experience been like after releasing your debut novel? It's been the same. If I'm being honest, tick. It's been the same. It's the same as it was before I released a novel. I didn't blow up overnight. I don't expect to blow up at any time soon. I already had an established Bookstagram account when I started writing this book. So I had a lot of support. There were also a lot of people who didn't give a shit that I was writing a book. They were following me for my review content. And that's fine too. But transitioning from Bookstagrammer to author, it really didn't change anything. Aside from I put out more content now about my writing process or my authoring than I do my reviewing. Does that make sense? I still put out funny memes. I still put out, random things that people can share. I still make the occasional reel because I don't know how to fucking do that because I'm old. But I do put out more content for my book. Aside from that, nothing has changed. The amount that Amazon pays you to be a KDP author, like to have your book in KU, is abysmal. So I will not be rich anytime soon. I won't. I will still continue to do it, like write, and for the time being, put my books into KU because it gets exposure. And that's the main thing you get from it as an author. You get exposure. You get people having ready access to your book. But in terms of money, there ain't no money, girl. Okay. So yeah, not much, to be honest, not much has changed. I'm still me. I'm the same person. I will still be myself for the foreseeable future. You know, if there's something I have to say, I'm going to say it, regardless of whether or not it can hinder me as an author. I'm still going to say it because I'm a real person. I feel some kind of way about things, as anyone does. And because I'm indie published and because this is not my main source of income, the fucks I have to give about holding my tongue, about filtering myself, there are none. There's none. So it is what it is. As my sign up there says that you can't really see. Were you scared to publish a book? What gave you the push / encouragement? I was not scared. I had moments of anxiety for sure, but I didn't experience like true fear to publish the book because I just told myself, like, at the end of the day, I'm just gonna do the damn thing, you know? What gave me the push or encouragement was honestly the support that I got from the indie author community. No, let me take that back. The support that I got from the Bookstagram community. I have a very close friend, my best friend. Her name is Yvette. She was my editor for this book. She is the first one who encouraged me to write. She was the one that said, I think you should write your own book. And I went, bitch, you're crazy. Like, I can't remember what I ate for breakfast, and you want me to write a book? A whole ass book? No. In the beginning, I had zero faith in myself that I could create a world in my head and actually put it to paper. Zero faith. She had that faith. Along the way, when I finally did decide to do it, along the way, there were people in the Bookstagram community that encouraged me, that kept me motivated, that hyped me up. Even on days when they didn't know that they were doing it. When I felt down on myself, when I hadn't written for several days, or when I was feeling depressed about something else, something completely not book related, they were there giving me some kind of encouragement or making me laugh or, you know, whatever. And that is what kept me going throughout the process. So even when I didn't express that I was struggling, they helped me. And without that, the book never would have been done. It never would have started. It never would have finished. That's it. Like, it was them. They gave me the encouragement. There is a lot of upsides to the Bookstagram community. I don't use Book Talk much, but I'm sure there are a lot of upsides to Book Talk. Just like there are downsides to there are a lot of downsides to it, but there are a lot of upsides, and without the friendships that I've made there, the book never would have come out. Will you be attending any conventions as a signing author? I know that was meant as a serious question. But the idea is so, in my mind, is so laughable that I can't even fathom. Okay. If I am able to get out a book 2 or a book 3 of this series, then maybe. Again, if anyone out there even gives a shit enough to read it, then yes, I may do one. I would love to do one. I think it would be an amazing time. Do I think I'll get there? No, because I'm a disparaging piece of shit. I'm self-deprecating, and it's my biggest fault. So, do I think I will get there? No. But if I get there, like anything else, if I get there, that would be amazing. Where'd you get the inspiration for your book? So, I live in South Carolina. I don't live in Charleston. But when I was younger, my mother would take myself and my 2 siblings, who are younger than me, to Folly Beach, which is very close to Charleston, like every other weekend during the summer. And we would just go for the day, and we would swim and maybe go to downtown Charleston, walk through the Charleston City Market, go to the fountains on the Battery, and just have a good day. And those are some of my best childhood memories. And so when I thought to myself, experiencing that type of environment, if you've ever been to Charleston, if you've ever seen Charleston, it's very similar to like Savannah, Georgia, or New Orleans. The downtown area is very picturesque. It has cobblestone streets. It has rows of pretty painted townhomes, like townhouses. There are areas that are they clearly have money. And then there are areas that clearly don't have money, right? Just like anywhere else. But as a child going there and experiencing, I hate using the word ambiance, but like ambiance of that area, it instilled in me a kind of mystique about the downtown Charleston area, the Battery, the market, and those, when I thought, where am I gonna set this book? Immediately, I thought, write what you know. And I set it in Charleston. The rest of the books in the series will be predominantly set in other southern coastal towns that are near to either Charleston or like maybe Savannah maybe New Orleans, like that have that same kind of upper class, but still down to earth feeling. And it was like that feeling of mystique, that there's money here. But even I, who had no money, could still have a good day. Does that make sense? So that was what inspired me to set the book where I did. And that was my inspiration for the book. That was really the core of it, to be honest. Jesus Christ. The last question that I have wasn't really a question. Well, they are questions, but it's something I said in a conversation with my friend Yvette, where I said, "Are you just tired, Candace, or really dumb?" And she submitted that as a question. And she said by Cece herself. I did say that. And I've probably said it more than once. So that's the majority of the questions that I got asked that weren't obviously like repeat questions or that I could answer like cohesively. The last question, which really was the first question, the first question that I got asked is the question I have saved for last, because that is what is going to segue at 49 minutes and 55 seconds into this video. That is what is going to segue us into our tea session / ranty session. So the question that is going to kick all of this off. I'm a nosy hoe who wants to know the tea between you and Sophie Lark. Okay. So, I want to preface this. I want to preface this next half or this next segment by saying I know that what I'm about to do is going to probably lose me a lot of followers. I understand that. I recognize that. But at the same time, these are my feelings. And as a human being, I should be allowed to express them. And additionally, redundant much, Candace. Additionally, what happened, and you can't change the facts. As much as you would like to bury it, as much as you would hope it never comes to light, you can't change the facts. It happened. That's it. So, not last year, but the year before, 2022, there was a situation in October of 2022. Prior to that, I was a massive fan of Sophie Lark. Then something happened. And now when I say massive fan, I mean I have tattoos inspired by her books. I was that type of fan. I loved her books. I loved her writing. I had spoken to her many times. We were on friendly terms. When I say friendly, I mean to the extent of like, I had mailed her family cookies. There was a period of time, sometime during the course of when she was writing Anastasia, where she put out a post that was very revealing of herself, that I want to say unlike the rest of her content, but it was very revealing of herself in the fact that she was telling people that she was struggling with the writing because of personal like anxiety issues, or because of, self-esteem issues or whatever. The post may still be there, I don't know. But she put out this post, and in an effort to cheer her up, give her motivation, just let her know that there were fans out there who were thinking of her. Keep in mind, I have already sent multiple packages to her of baked goods because I'm a baker. And, she expressed that, like, her gratitude and whatever. And in return, like, not in return, but like, alternatively, she had also sent me signed books for free. Like, she did that before I had a following of 1,500 people. So that is what endeared me to her, that type of behavior. And that is why I thought that we had developed some type of friendly relationship. I won't say we were besties. I won't say we were friends. We had developed a friendly relationship. Like, she would show me the cover of books before the actual cover reveal. Like, she trusted me in that regard and stuff like that. So when she expressed this moment of feeling down, I made her a care package, a large flat rate box full of baked goods that I went out of my way. They weren't extras from an order or, the dregs of what was left from stuff. I deliberately said, I thought to myself, what makes me feel happy? What lifts my spirits? And the answer was, well, the happiest time of the year is usually around Christmas, like the holiday season, right? And that's usually when people have an uptick of bravado or, serotonin or whatever, the dopamine, whatever the fuck that is. So I thought to myself, I'm going to bake her. I'm going to specifically bake her several of my favorite Christmassy and fall recipes, because that's the time of year that makes me happiest. And so I think this will cheer her up. So I did. I filled a huge flat rate box full of caramel corn that I made, gingerbread, like all of these different things. And then I also included a mason jar of my grandmother's Russian tea recipe. It's I have no idea if it's actually Russian, but it's something I grew up, and the smell of the Russian tea, which that is also what inspired Merrick's candle. The smell of the Russian tea, it just reminded me of Christmas. And I thought, she's trying to write a book based off of the legend of Anastasia. It's perfect. I will make this powder. It's like a powder, like almost like you would think like an instant tea that you would scoop into just hot water and you stir it, and it makes almost like a cider. Not alcoholic, but like a cider. So it's spiced. It has like cinnamon and clove and whatever. And it's called Russian tea, and it was my grandma's recipe. I'm sure it came from somewhere else and there are plenty of other people who have it. It's not like an heirloom recipe, but it meant something to me. And so I made it, I put it in a jar, and I put it in the box. And then I put a note on top of encouragement and just letting her know that there were people out there that cared about her, etc., etc., etc. And that I hope that this package would help her, not only inspire her to write, but just make her feel better. So I did that. So around October of 2022, there was a situation, a very unfortunate situation that happened with a very, very dear friend of mine that involved a very dear friend, that friend, and one of Sophie's PAs. Now, this was post Love in Vegas, the book convention Love in Vegas. So, essentially, my friend, who I will not name because I don't want to cause her any more unnecessary anxiety and stress and whatever that happened, that she went through during this period of time. She flew to Vegas to meet Sophie. She was a ride or die fan of Sophie as well, even more so than me. Like she'd been with Sophie since day one. And she was friendly with Sophie. She was friendly with the PAs. They talked, right? So she flew to Vegas. And when she stood in line for hours, untold number of hours, like everybody else, to get to the front of the table, only to have a not so warm reception from Sophie. Now, not to sound big-headed, but when someone, especially a super fan, meets an author that they absolutely adore and someone that they've talked to in like the DMs, and that like you're in their Facebook group and you share all their posts and you do all the, you expect when you get to meet them in person that they'll recognize you. I think any human being would expect that. If they don't, like, they should pretend. Like, I mean, at least fake it. And fake it till you make it, right? Well, instead of showing my friend this, giving her a warm welcome and, you know, making her feel like her devotion was worthwhile, the reception was very cold and standoffish. There was like a party afterwards, a costume party of some kind that happened in the same convention center or hotel where the convention happened. And the same thing happened there. She went up to her to talk to her, and she was essentially snubbed in favor of, but while that was happening, she would see Sophie, for lack of a better term, pandering to larger accounts, that people that she knew had bigger like Bookstagram accounts, Book Talk accounts, like, and yes, as an author now, I understand the need for that. I understand why you would want to, you know, keep those large accounts on your side, or why you would give them attention, because from a business perspective, it's good business. But at the same time, you should be giving that level of attention to everyone, not only the people that have 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers, whatever. Because at the end of the day, it's these smaller accounts that are really selling your books. The accounts that have 1,000 followers, the accounts that have 2,000 followers, the accounts have 3,000 followers, they're the ones selling your books because they read it, they love it, they rave about it, they make their friends read it, and so on and so forth. And the ball keeps rolling, right? My friend went home and she was so depressed, just completely despondent. And, you know, when she got to talking with, as you do on Bookstagram, you make friends, right? So as she got to talking with other friends that had been at Vegas, and they had expressed similar situations. They had expressed that they had experienced similar situations with other authors. My friend put out a post. It was a general post, and it didn't name any names, not even of the other authors that her friends had told her about. It named no names, but it essentially said what all of us have at one time felt as readers. And that is that there are some indie authors out there who, for lack of a better description, don't give a shit about the little people. And instead, they pander to the big people. And if you as a reader, if you've ever created content for an author that you love or for a book that you love, and you've shared it, and you've tagged them, and the tag has been seen but not responded to, or not shared to their stories, or not acknowledged in any way, you felt that. You know that feeling. It's terrible. It's such a shitty feeling. I don't want to get upset. So when you have authors who do things like that to their readers because they don't have a large following of people, and corresponding with that person will not help their career in any way, that's shitty. Like, there's no nicer way to put it. It's shitty. And so my friend essentially said that in a post. Why do some authors cater to these larger accounts while ignoring the fans that have held them down since day one? Like, it's a legitimate question. And it's coming from a legitimate place. It's coming from a place of hurt and anger and depression, because this is somebody that you have idealized, and they have essentially treated you like trash. And that's a terrible feeling as a reader, because you don't feel seen. You don't feel valued. You don't feel appreciated. And these are people who are taking time out of their own busy lives to create content for your books. And then because of their follow count, you essentially ignore them, or you make them feel like they're not worthy, or whatever the case may be. That is the shittiest feeling. So after my friend put up that post, she got a bunch of comments affirming her feelings. She got a DM on Instagram from one of the PAs that she had spoken to in the past, that she thought she was on friendly terms with. And the PA came into the conversation as though she was there for some hot goss, right? Like, "Ooh, I saw your post. Who are you talking about? That's crazy. What happened?" Right? In my friend's head, she knows. Well, for me, it happened with Sophie, but I'm not going to tell her that. So instead, she tells her that, like, it wasn't about anybody specific. And, she goes on to say that, like, she had friends, that she was talking to friends who had gone to Vegas and they had experienced these things and blah, blah, blah. At no point during this conversation does she say that it was Sophie that the post was about. Like a light switch flipping, the PA went from being her friend to aggressively attacking her. To the point of calling her a gossip monger, saying that many people had messaged her because they had assumed the post was about Sophie. First of all, why would you assume the post was about Sophie when it doesn't mention Sophie at all, unless Sophie has a history of doing stuff like this? But that's a different conversation. So, this girl went so far as to say, like, stuff like, Sophie's seen the post and she hates you now. Like, she's seen it and she doesn't like you. Like, stuff like this, okay? Now, the whole time that this conversation is happening, my friend is profusely apologizing. For what? I will go off. For what does she need to apologize for? At no point did she tag Sophie Lark. At no point did she call her out by name. At no point did she allude to anything. No. What is she apologizing for? For having feelings? For expressing disappointment in an author, a one-to-one author interaction? I mean, it was ridiculous. And no matter how much my friend apologized and pleaded with her, she just kept going and going and going, to the point where she sent my friend, who already suffers from depression, who already has crippling anxiety, who already has OCD, into a downward spiral where she ended up deactivating her Instagram account, deactivating her Facebook account, all of these things. One day she was there and the next day she wasn't. And her friends, me, several other people, were like, "What happened to so-and-so's account? Where did she go? Did she get deleted for some reason? What happened?" Nobody knew. She was just gone. So I texted her, and at first she did not want to talk about it. She was afraid to say anything because this girl, the PA, had literally bullied her to the point where she thought she was going to get sued. Like, she didn't want to talk about it. I pressed her on it. Eventually, she told me what happened. After that, she sent me the screenshots. Now, again, I am not on this video going to reveal those screenshots out of respect for my friend. There were 13 of those screenshots of the conversation between her and the PA. I read them. I was appalled. I was horrified that somebody on Sophie's team would think that they were allowed to talk to Sophie's readers like this, to treat Sophie's readers like this. Anybody. It could, whether they have 1,000 followers, whether they have 100,000 followers, anybody. Everybody should be talked to and treated with respect, right? So I told my friend, you need to tell Sophie. You need to tell her. Because I knew in my heart, I would have staked my life on it, that there was no way she would condone this type of behavior from her PA. And finally, I convinced my friend to let me intervene for her because she just couldn't. She couldn't. She was so upset that she sent me the screenshots. I saw them. I read them. I convinced her, let me send them to Sophie. She needs to know. She needs to know, and she needs to reprimand this person. Finally, she agreed. And so I did. Now, what I'm getting ready to share has not been seen by anyone except myself, Sophie, and I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 other people that I trust. And as I said before, I'm not going to out my friend and cause her more undue stress by dragging her back into the situation. So I will not be releasing the copies of the 13 screenshots. But what I will be releasing for the first time are the screenshots between myself and Sophie. Because from the point that the screenshots came into my hand of my friend in the PA, and I reached out to Sophie on her behalf, that's when I became involved. So I'm going to share from that point forward because that's what affected me. Out of respect for my friend, I'm not going to delve into the details of her situation, aside from the general brief overview I just gave you. Okay? So I'm going to post the screenshots as I read them, and I'm going to put them here. I've redacted my friend's name, and I've redacted the PA's name. Again, for my friend's protection. Everything else is 100% taken from the conversation that I had with Sophie. Nothing has been edited. Nothing has been left out. Nothing has been added in. It has not been altered in any way. I want to just state that for the record. I'm going to read what I sent her. And while I read it, I'll have it here. So the message goes, "Hey, Sophie, I'm writing this message with a heavy heart. I want to make you aware of a situation that I'm hoping you're either completely unaware of or that you've been given a slanted view of by a third party. Yesterday, a good friend of mine whom you met in Vegas and who has been an integral part of your Facebook group since its inception," and then I put her name, "made an Instagram post. You have known her on Instagram as blank," and then I put her username, "as well. I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version of this story. As so-and-so is an overly emotional person, and her messages to you may have seemed a bit muddy. The Instagram post in question was made in response to several of her friends coming back from Vegas and expressing their upset at how poorly or negligently they had been treated by other authors in favor of larger bookstagrammers or book talkers. Your name was mentioned nowhere in this post. I want to state that for the record." Next screenshot. "Your PA, redacted, messaged, redacted, in a friendly manner at first, essentially laying a trap for her, as you'll see in the attached screenshots, asking about the post and wanting to gossip on what and who the post was about. Redacted. My friend told her the other authors' names, whom I've redacted from the screenshots so as not to cause any more unnecessary drama." And I redacted those in the screenshots I sent to Sophie. "Still not mentioning you. It was at this point that the PA turned on her and accused her of making that post about you. She denied this, though she did state her disappointment at the lack of time that she got to spend with you in Vegas, and perhaps a slight lack of excitement on your part when meeting her." And then in parentheses I put, "as she had built it up in her mind as I think most readers meeting their heroes would." The PA, redacted, then proceeded to attack her repeatedly. She apologized over and over. However, the PA continued to bully and intimidate her to the point that she felt she needed to delete her Bookstagram and Facebook accounts. Next screenshot. "She didn't even want me to send this message for an unfounded fear of reprisal from the PA," redacted. "The way the PA spoke to her was unacceptable. As a person, as a PA, as an extension of you, not only so-and-so, redacted, but the group of bookstagrammers that are already aware of this situation having taken place are severely disappointed in her behavior and the way this reflects on you, because we as a collective love you and don't want to believe that you would be okay with something like this. We're bringing this to you instead of allowing it to become the next great Bookstagram scandal, because we want you to be the author we believe you to be and handle this. The PA's, redacted, behavior was not befitting a PA of a major author. It was not professional in any way. It was rude, nasty, gaslighting, and manipulative. Please, for the sake of whatever small relationship we may have, See these messages for what they are and do right by my friend, redacted. I understand what I'm risking by sending these messages to you. Next screenshot. But I love my friend. And as much as I love you and your books, she means more. Please see the attached screenshots. Thank you. And then I proceeded to send her 13 screenshots of the conversation between my friend and the PA. This is the response I got back. Hey Candace, exclamation point. Thanks for looking out. I've talked with my friend and tried to smooth things over. She says she wants some space, but she's always welcome in Love Larks and as my friend. Love Larks is her Facebook group. I can't go through all these texts. I'm working from 6 a.m. to midnight on Anastasia. I have been for about 6 weeks and have another month or it won't be done in time. I'm physically and emotionally exhausted. I just want everyone to get along. And then she put a heart emoji. First of all, let me interject really quick that I don't believe for 1 second that at this point she had not seen the screenshots. I don't believe for 1 second that she had not read them. I do not believe for 1 second that she had not already been either told about the situation by the PA or that she had not seen the screenshots of the conversation. So I responded, I appreciate your position, Sophie. And I understand your workload is a lot. If this was something trivial, I wouldn't have bothered you with it. But the PA's name, redacted, is an extension of you. Next screenshot. I'm going to pick up where I left off. But the PA is an extension of you. A representation of you when you can't be there. She speaks for you. Is this how you want her talking to your readers? Maybe you should take a moment to read the text and gauge the gravity of their contents before writing them off. Because if you deem her words acceptable, then I'll be honest, I'm at a loss for how to proceed in this reader/author relationship. And while I know you want everyone to get along and to keep the peace, the content of these text messages isn't something that's just going to go away if we refuse to look at it for long enough. I'm sorry. And then I sent her a heart. And this is a response I got back. I don't have a position, Candace. I have responsibilities to my family and my husband. I will read all of them in December when I'm not having panic attacks to finish my book. Keep in mind this was October. I must have stared at that message for like half an hour. It was at this moment, this was the pivotal moment where I understood a lot of things. I understood that she was not the person that I had built her up to be. I understood we didn't have the relationship that I thought we had. I understood that she already knew what happened. And I realized that this was not someone that I wanted to support anymore. Because either way, whether she read the screenshots and deemed them nothing, or whether she legitimately would not take 5 minutes to look at a potential catastrophe that could unfold on social media that could affect her book sales. Either way you put it, it's shitty. It was shitty. That's it. And at first, I was angry. No, that's a lie. At first, I was hurt. Like my friend was hurt. And then the longer that it took, the longer I sat with it, the more I reread the messages. The more I looked at the image that she portrays to the world, the angrier I got. And during this period of time, I am not a reactionary person. Yes, I pop off at the mouth a lot. Yes, I will speak my piece if I have something to say. But I'm not a reactionary person. I'm a rational person. And during the period directly following this, first of all, the only thing that I wrote back, as you can see in the screenshot, was one word: understood. Because in that moment, I had nothing else to say. There was nothing else. I couldn't formulate. I couldn't articulate anything other than, wow. I have no idea who you are. And so, directly following this, I sat with these messages. I could have posted the screenshots right after it happened. I didn't. I sat on them because I knew that there were so many people out there who still loved and enjoyed her books, and who, even me, to a certain extent, can separate, even I can separate the art from the artist in some regard. I can still go back and reread some of my favorite books by her, and I still enjoy them because at the time that I read them, they gave me joy. But I realized that I did not want to support her anymore. I did not want to promote her. I wanted nothing to do with her. So I unfollowed her. I didn't post the screenshots. I didn't slander her anywhere. Aside from telling literally like my 2-3 closest friends what happened. And it obviously never made it to the internet because nobody knows, right? But 3 days after this conversation, she blocked me. And I've remained blocked since that time. And I, in turn, have blocked her. Because even I didn't do it at first. Because somewhere in the back of my deluded mind, I thought, she's just stressed out. She's going to come back. She's going to come back and she's going to apologize. Or I'm going to hear from her a couple days from now. And she's going to make right by my friend. She's going to do right by my friend. She's going to say, what kills me is that at the end of the day, for all her fakeness that she puts out on social media, all she had to do to squash this situation was lie. Yes, I will talk to the PA. Yes, she'll be spoken to. If she had said that to my friend would have let it go. She would have taken her at her word, even if she had no intention whatsoever of doing anything about it. My friend loved her enough that she would have taken her at her word. So would I. But she didn't. Instead, she chose to be a snarky bitch about it. I'll read these in December, in 2 months, when she could have just said, I'll look at them and I'll get back to you. Even if she never had any intention of doing that. She chose to respond the way she responded. And that's the moment that I knew that she wasn't who I thought she was. So that is the situation and the tea between me and Sophie Lark. From that point on, I have not promoted any of her books. I have not read a single book she's released. I have not recommended her to any friends. I have said, if you want to read her books, do so. I would recommend buying them secondhand so she doesn't get any money. But aside from that, up to today, that's the extent of how far I've gone. Or possibly alluded to there have been a situation with an author that I had. But I have never, until today, said her name. Like, in public. But on the coattails of that, there are several other authors in the indie author community that I no longer support. And this situation was the catalyst that helped open my eyes to the fact that I don't want to put my time, my energy, my money, my trust in anybody that's shitty to their readers. So there are several other authors that I no longer promote, or that if at one time I did promote them, I don't anymore, or that I just won't follow, even though their books are ridiculously popular. And since I'm already spilling tea, I might as well go ahead and say, the first one, H.D. Carlton. I will no longer promote H.D. Carlton or her books. The main reason for that is, and I'm prefacing this by saying the two authors I'm getting ready to talk about, I've never spoken to them. I know nothing about them. Aside from what they put out to the public, I don't know. I've never had a conversation with either of them. But H.D. Carlton, her general demeanor that she puts out in her stories, in the way that she posts, in her language that she uses. And I don't mean language like curse words. I mean language like the way she talks comes across very mean girlish to me. And I used to follow her I used to support her. But the straw that broke the camel's back, and yes, I had ignored umpteen number of red flags when it comes to how she talks to her readers. And this is not even taking into account her behavior in her own personal Facebook group or her husband's behavior or whatever. This is just taking into account the way she behaves on Instagram. The straw that broke the camel's back for me was she likes to go on her stories and do, similar to what I've done, a Q&A. But instead of making a YouTube video about it, she will answer you on her stories. I've seen her do it before. Not once, not twice, many times. And every time I go, I don't like that. And in one of my previous videos, the one where I'm ranting about indie authors, the entire time that I'm talking about publicly shaming your readers on your stories or talking down to your readers in your stories, I was talking about her. Because she loves to do that. She puts out a thing on her stories that says, question and answers. Ask me your questions. It can be about anything. Okay. I'm sure as an author of a wildly popular viral duet, Haunting Adeline and Hunting Adeline, that she gets asked the same questions over and over and over. And I get it. After a while, it's tiring and you don't want to answer it anymore. I get it. But if you don't want to answer it, don't answer it. Don't take it and use it as an opportunity to embarrass somebody. That's shitty. And I don't like it. Okay? Now, the straw that broke the camel's back were a series of stories following a Q&A. And I will put the screenshots that I have here. The first one. I will confirm for the millionth and one time, this is not a third book to the Cat and Mouse duet. Was it necessary to put for the millionth and one time? No. You wrote that, boo. Next one. Here. And to confirm for the millionth and second time. Just because the duet is complete doesn't mean there can't be a new storyline with Zayd and Addie in the future. And then she puts the eye roll emoji. But no, that's not what this secret project is either. Do you see what I mean when I talk about her general demeanor and her tone sounding catty as fuck? And then the third one. Look, I know everyone loves Zayd and Addie, but filling my inbox with your disappointment that it's not a third book is not going to turn it into one. I've been saying for 2 years that I'm not writing a third book. And if I decide to write them again, it'd be a different storyline. Y'all got your own hopes up. I can only repeat myself every day. This world is not end with Zayd and Addie, and it'd be great if y'all stopped trying to limit me to writing just them. And then she put the salute emoji. That was the day that I unfollowed her. That was the day I stopped promoting her books. because that was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. I get that you've been asked that question a billion times, but you have to remember, some of these people are just now finding your books. Some of these people have just finished reading that duet. They don't know that you've been repeating yourself for 2 years. So they ask a question. If you don't want to answer it, ignore it. Don't use it as an excuse to publicly shame your readers. That's shitty. Shitty. Shitty, shitty, shitty. And I want to say that she's just having an off day, or this was a one-off situation. It's not. It's not. She's not a nice person. It's not stress. It's not. I can tell by the way she talks, and by the way that other people have shown me stuff, screenshots from her Facebook group, which I'm not in. She does not talk to her readers with respect. She does not treat her readers with respect. She does not bequeath her readers with the respect that they deserve after having made her hand over fist money. Because yes, she did put in the work for that, for those books. She did the time. She wrote that. Be proud of yourself for that, boo. But it never would have taken off. It never would have gone viral on TikTok. You never would have a billboard in Times Square with your picture on it, or with the books on it, if it hadn't been for your readers. You'd be nobody. And that deserves respect. I said what I said. Moving on. The second author that I don't support. And there are more authors after this, but these are the two I decided to talk about today. Rena Kent. Now, keep in mind, I don't follow Rena Kent. I don't know anything about Rena Kent. I know her books are popular. I read one. I hated it. As a reader, I'm allowed to have an opinion. I hated it. And I'll tell you why. Because instead of, unlike my book, where the second page is the content warning and trigger warning page, Rena decided that she thought it was good enough to bury a literally bare bones list of triggers for her book in an author note at the beginning of the book. And I'm going to read the author note and I'm going to post it here. And this author note can be found at the beginning of the ebook, beginning of the paperback, hardcover. If it's in hardcover, I don't know. However, it is not in the audio version. It's not read anywhere in the audiobook. And I know that it's not common practice for authors to have their narrators read their trigger warning list, if there is a trigger warning list, when you're having your book produced to audio. But it should be. Because it's important. Because when a person decides to read your book, especially if it's the first book in a series, and they are listening to it on audio, and there's no trigger warning, they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. And if they haven't downloaded the Kindle edition or bought your paperback, they would never see this. Never, ever. Now, if they had downloaded the ebook or bought the paperback, this is what she constitutes as the trigger warning list for her readers. Dear reader friend, if you haven't read my books before, you might not know this, but I write darker stories that can be upsetting and disturbing. My books and main characters aren't for the faint of heart. Killian Carson, who's the main male character of this book, the main character of God of Malice, is a true psychopath, not a make-believe, nor a bad boy who's eventually tamed. He's a villain with very questionable actions. So if you can't handle morally black characters, please do not proceed. If you can't handle. This book contains non-con, dub-con, and suicidal thoughts. I trust you know your triggers before you proceed. God of Malice is a standalone. That's it. It was the I trust you know your triggers that got me. I do know my triggers, but I don't know what's in your book. And you putting it literally 1, 2, 3 trigger warnings in a paragraph of an author note that contains multiple paragraphs, as opposed to an actual list. Not good enough. Not good enough. I'm sorry. And the whole I trust you know your triggers before you proceed, that put a gross taste in my mouth. So I had a friend who went into this book blind because she downloaded the audio version. And like many other audiobooks, it just starts. Page 1, whatever. The very first scene of this book is the main male character finding the main female character sitting near the edge of a cliff at night, and then forces her to give him head against her will on pain of throwing her over the side of the cliff if she doesn't. My friend had to stop reading it because she was triggered by that. Because she had no idea it was there. Because she was listening to the audio version. But even if she hadn't been, and she had gotten this in the ebook, paperback, whatever, no. People's mental health matters. And why would it be okay for you to write a book and then at the beginning not tell people that it has all of these things in it? Non-con, rape. Dub-con, in her head a little bit, maybe she likes what's happening because it feels good, but I still don't want it. And suicidal thoughts. That's the whole of the trigger warning list. So that, bad taste in my mouth. Will not read. Will not support. I hated it. There was nothing redeemable about that book. I'm sorry. There are a ton of people out there who love it. Not for me. Not for me. And that set the tone for Raina Kent. And I have not read a book of hers since. So that is the extent of my tea. And that's the extent of my Q&A. And it's been 2 hours that I've been sitting here ranting about this. It's fine. If you're still here, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. If I decide to, which hopefully I will, be able to start reading again, I will continue to post reviews here for as long as you guys want to watch them. So if you would like to see more videos from me, please subscribe. I would appreciate it. If you would like, you can follow me on social media. I do have a members only Facebook group, but I don't, it's pretty dead. But I am on Instagram and you can find me there all the time. So yeah, I think that's it. My lipstick has gone splotchy and gross because I've been talking for so long. So I'm gonna go. But I appreciate each and every one of you. And whether you're here for the Q&A or whether you're here for the tea, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And if you reach out to me on Bookstagram or wherever, I will respond. Even if it's with just a heart emoji, like it's something. I will acknowledge you because I see you and you are important. I love you so much. And I will talk to you guys in my next one. I literally just realized that in my last video, I didn't do my actual like singy intro. You know why? Because I'm sick. I've been sick. And you have to give me some leeway, please. I forget things and I can't sing, but I'm gonna try and do it. Okay. Candace, stop it. This is a serious video. Stop it. Okay. Fuck around and find out. I don't want to say tea. What the hell is his name? Oh my God, I don't remember. I'm trying to think. What is his name? That I was before my book published. I'm still going to be me for the foreseeable future. As you can see, nothing has changed. Tea! Sorry, I haven't done that in a long time. Woo. But yeah,